solutions as to how those additional places could be provided. It could be on the site. It could be that it's by developing or expanding another school that's nearby. So, and that is not a decision for us. That is a decision for West Sussex County Council. What there is within the scheme is funding to be able to make whatever solution is finally decided as being the right answer. So I hope that sort of helps with that point. On the sewer system, yes, we did have a considerable debate about it on Monday evening, but just in very brief terms, Southern Water, who we have been working with for something like 6 to 9 months, have done a great deal of modelling, and they have come up with this particular solution. The reason or the way that it is dealt with is that the discharge from the site is controlled such that the size of the pipe going down Barfield Park is an 8-inch pipe, but it doesn't run full, and they build within that a factor of safety. Certainly, they have taken into account, when they have done that modelling, they have taken into account all of the potential discharge from the housing, from the IKEA, from the training ground, even from the new traveller park. So all of the elements of the scheme are taken into account within that modelling. But as we said, we are creating significant storage on the site, and it was only in the event of an extreme event of which we would get early warning that we would then resort to a final resort of emptying that storage by tanker. So that is absolutely a final resort, and extremely unlikely to occur.
Francis, hold on. Let's answer the final one, then I'll come back to you.
They modelled it on a clean sheet of paper, so to speak. The gentleman behind us said...
Yeah, Francis, we won't hear you.
It wasn't modelled.
Francis, we won't hear you. Quick comeback, but no one will answer to the gentleman in the back.
They modelled... I'm sorry. They modelled it from stock on a clean piece of paper. They did not take into account all the misery that people were suffering already with the sewage system in Lancing, including somebody who said, and please excuse me, but I'm repeating it, that at Christmas all the snow outside their houses was brown. Now they are starting off from as if they were building a new sewage system for your development, but it's going into a system that's busted. It doesn't work. We continually have problems with it. And so, thank you for your answer, but I hope they've gone away and realised that it isn't going to work.
Let's answer, then we'll come back. Can you answer that, and then the gentleman behind his question?
The answer to that is that they very clearly said on Monday evening that they designed the system on the basis of, as a minimum requirement, no detriment. And so what that means is they have taken into account the issues that are, if you like, upstream of the development, and their calculations are that it will not impact on the problems that occur, which are caused very largely by the infiltration of groundwater into the system in that area. But you know, so the final question was about benefits to Lancing. The main benefits, as far as we are concerned, are this whole development. If you combine it with the planned developments on the airport, creates 1,300 jobs. Our development alone creates something like 600 jobs. It generates into the local economy something in the order of up to £3.5 million in council receipts every year. And bear in mind that the council suffers badly from the cuts in central government spending, and they have to, and the local authority have to generate additional benefits or additional revenue by development in their area. But also, very specifically, we absolutely absolutely believe that what we will be doing, particularly with the drainage, is improving the problems that occur in Manor Close by making sure that downstream of Manor Close there are absolutely no blockages and that the water flows freely, and by pumping into the Ada as opposed to having the system tide locked for 6 hours every tide cycle, which is partly what causes the problem.
Okay, I'm going to take some questions about people who haven't answered a question, then I'll come back up to the front here. Lady in the grey, I think you haven't answered. There. And then I'll go to the gentleman over there. I will come back to councillors later. I want to get residents to answer. Sir, madam. Switch it on. What is it about this hall that microphones never work in Lancing Parish Hall?
The concern about the benefit to Lancing is basically what we'll end up with is a segregated village, because if their only access is the A27, they're not going to drive into Lancing or probably even Shoreham to do their shopping. They're just going to carry straight on to Worthing or to Brighton. It's not going to benefit Lancing with their shops, with community spirit or anything. They're just going to be isolated.
Well, they won't be able to get out. The gentleman behind that lady there, yeah. Sir, in the blue top, yeah. And then the gentleman over there, I'll come to you.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask, Tim, according to yourself, you quoted that IKEA would basically attract 2 million customers, on average. Martin, according to you, you quoted there'd be 30 extra cars an hour travelling from the west to IKEA. Based on your figures, out of 2 million, there'll actually be, according to your figures, Martin, 100,000 people coming from the areas including Worthing, Littlehampton and anywhere west. Now, according to your figures, you said there would be approximately a 74% share of the customers coming from Brighton and Hove and from the east. Now, if you calculate 30 cars an hour by 12 over 365 days, you come out 128,000 people. Okay, so that sounds a lot. 2 million minus 128,000 people works out at 1.82 million are going to come from the Brighton and Hove area to Lancing, all cured, go to IKEA, and it's all going to be cured by a roundabout. Sorry, but can I just add, if your figures are that far out already, what hope have we got for the rest of your figures that you're quoting this evening?
It's amazing what roundabouts can do with modern technology, especially when you've got traffic lights.
Can I just offer a scenario and say 5 years' time, you get your 600 houses built, your IKEA's all up, it's all nice and shiny, but your facts and your figures and your tests are wrong. We are the one. You go home to wherever you go home, but we live here. Most of us will work locally. You know, I go up on the A27 in the mornings and I dread it because it's an extra 20 minutes, 25 minutes, half hour of my journey. Now, in 5 years' time, you're wrong. What will you do? Will you come back and say, well, look, yeah, sorry, we're wrong, we'll do something about it? Or will you just say, our pockets are lined, IKEA's now the Brighton's main shirt sponsor. We've got an extended stand, now called the IKEA stand. What happens then? Will you come back in 5 years' time and say, I got it wrong? Because that's all we'd ask. Well, we'd probably ask a bit more, but that would be a start. If you're wrong, what happens then?
Can I just add on, because the IKEA for me is the biggest moot point on all this. Why has the Cardiff branch of IKEA been taken as the model for the traffic figures? Because I asked for the Southampton branch of IKEA, which was built 10 years ago, and is on the M27, so a similar sort of part of the country. I asked for the figures, the projections for when it was built and what actually the outturn was 10 years on, and I'm not being given those. And what are the projections for the IKEA in Reading, where you had to wait 3.5 hours to get out the car park, apparently, last week, on a single incident? So where do the figures on IKEA actually come from, Martin? I think was a key point here.
Do you want me to answer that one first? Let's deal with that one first. Our traffic consultants actually work for IKEA all over the country. I don't quite understand why that's amusing, because what it means is
they have a conflict
that
of
the
interest.
quality of the data that they've got is based on stores that are open, stores that are running, stores that have been running for a very long time. So they have got the traffic patterns that occur for each of those stores. They selected as the basis of their calculations Cardiff, because Cardiff has a very similar catchment area and catchment size to Lancing. However, I haven't got
We're running out of time.
We're running out of time.
We're running out of time. Let's get an answer to this. Anyone here from Cardiff?
They used Cardiff because it was very similar. However, I can tell you that Highways England and WS Atkins are looking at a number of the other stores to see how they compare, and they will use that data to compare the data that we've produced to see whether or not we are right. As in the case of Reading, yes, at the opening of Reading there were problems with the signalling, but the reports that I have had from IKEA, and I have definitely asked them these questions, is that those problems have now been resolved. It is of no interest to IKEA to have people sitting in a car park for 4 hours. Because that's not going to encourage customers. So they are very interested. We've also looked at the Southampton figures. The Southampton figures, the predictions that were made during the week, the figures turned out to be less than the predicted traffic flows. At the weekends, slightly more. But the variation was not huge. And the evidence to back that up is the fact that Southampton City Council have not required IKEA to make any further improvements since that store has been opened. So those are the issues around the traffic. I would say to the gentleman at the back that said, what will I do in 5 years' time if we've got it wrong? I will tell you, I will come to this meeting and I will tell you we've got it wrong, if we've got it wrong. But and I will make that undertaking. But the fact is that bear in mind, and I say yet again, we've produced these figures, and it's all very well us saying that they're going to work at this stage, but we're not relying on that, and Ada will not rely on that. What Ada will rely on is the independent assessments that are going on to see whether or not they think we were right. We had exactly the same issues when we built the stadium. We were told that the traffic around the stadium would be a disaster. It is. I can tell you, it is not a disaster. Well, we may need to beg to differ. But
let's not get into panto.
When you get 30,000 people leaving a stadium within an hour, and you get everybody away within half an hour, I could take you to many stadiums around this country where it takes much more than that. So we won't get into it.
Right, I want to take some questions, Mark. Yeah, Bill Freeman.
Before you do that, I am here as a resident. I happen to be the chair of the parish council, but I have perfectly right to speak. I'm not on a planning committee. I'm not anything to do with that. So I'm speaking here as a resident today.
Right, okay, do it quickly, Gloria, and then I'll come up here.
I will. What I'm a bit confused about, Tim, and that you're standing there, standing against this this NMF build, right? And in 2013, you actually said, and I quote the newspaper, MP urges residents to fight crazy plans for 600 houses, right? How come your council, your ADC cabinet, which is a Tory-led council, are fighting for it?
I will answer that question in a minute, but I want some other people to ask questions while Martin is here, and then I will come back to any other political questions like that, so I want ordinary people to speak. Bill Freeman.
Are we working? We are working. Good evening. Bill Freeman, Ada Floodwatch Group, which you might have heard of, and the Lancing Network, network of residents. There's a number, I could talk to you all evening about this. I spent the last 4 years fighting against this with our group and our members, because this is in a totally inappropriate area. Drainage is a big issue, that's been covered. I mean, for instance, when I look at the drainage plan, 25% of the ditches where the IKEA is going are going to be infilled. Now, is that clever or what? That ditch network relies upon, we as a community rely totally on that ditch network to drain to the sluices in Shoreham, for the A27, all the areas around Lancing, all work towards that. Without that, if that cogs up, we're in big trouble. And we know what big trouble is. I know Tim knows that because he got involved with me 3 or 4 years ago when we had those big issues up in North Lancing. And the sewage, absolutely the same problem. Groundwater comes up, sewers fill up because all the laterals that come out of the houses leak water. Even if they seal their sewers, which they've done in some places, they've spent 200,000 in fact, sealing the sewers, you still get ingression. And putting another load on that system, I promise you, particularly down in North Farm Road, where already we hear there's ingression of sewers, is going to be bad news. Trust me.
What's the question?
Now, can I just say one thing?
You have already said.
Well, I'd like to say no, because there's a lot of detail that is very difficult to put over. But I'll say one thing: the numbers that we've seen for the IKEA transport thing is about 4,000, 5,000, maybe 6,000 extra vehicles a day. When you look at the comparison with Cardiff, with Lancing, there's no similarity. The roads are different. The A4232, compared to 27, is literally a free-flowing road. There's no junctions, no interventions, no traffic lights, no nothing. You've got 2 very good A roads just north of the retail park IKEA's in. So why did you choose that as a comparison?
Okay, thanks, Bill. The gentleman there. The gentleman here. No, Andy, there.
I've been a taxi driver in Lancing and Shoreham for in excess of 30 years. I've lived here for 50. So I'm not talking about modelling. I'm not talking about hypothetics in terms of the roads, the congestion. I'm talking about what's happening now, before this development, if it goes ahead. Shoreham is approaching gridlock. The High Street failed every air quality test. For most of the day now, the High Street is gridlocked back to Wensland Cottages. Going the other way, it is gridlocked back to the Howard Kent or the lifeboat station for ease of recognition. That's before the potential of road tackle north and all the other things. Go along the Upper Shoreham Road where the new houses have been put in on the Southlands Hospital estate. There's gridlock there now at certain times of the day. We live in an area that is of finite size. We live in an area that used to be semi-rural, semi-urban. We also live in an area that has but 2 arterial routes. The A259 on the coast road, which they have successfully gridlocked. That's now, that's not when this is put in, but the A27, to say to me that, oh well, it won't affect the traffic much, quite frankly is absolute rubbish. That comes from a professional driver. That comes from a professional driver who spends every day on these 2 roads. That's my point, thank you.
Thank you. And finally, lady there, and that'll be the last set of Martin, but then we'll take those more points. Madam, yeah, lady in the... Yeah.
On the flooding issue, we've just come back from Ashford, who's got loads and loads of building work going on. We lived in a lovely part of Ashford where they have now built bypasses round. They are now building housing developments there, high up, but on floodplains. The flooding 2 years ago in Kent was caused by these houses and these housing developments. I am terrified that my house, which I love, and I'm sure you all do love yours, is going to be flooded. Not only that, I have seen people that are on low-lying ground in the south of Lancing, and I think to myself, my God, they're not going to have houses left.
This will be the final set of Martin's questions, but then we'll carry on. And can we get these bloody microphones to work?
I mean, an awful lot of what's just been said is in fairness, you know, you've said and repeated a number of the issues that you've raised, and I've already tried to give you some kind of answer to the point that Bill Freeman made about losing waterways. Actually, we are also adding waterways, and there is a net increase. There is a net increase agreed by the Environment Agency as to the total length of waterways that we are providing. And also, we are spending a great deal of money to increase and improve the ecology of those ditches. At the moment, that is a landfill site. The ecology has been seriously damaged, and it is our intention to do a great deal of work to restore that. As for the sewage system in Manor Close, I totally agree. It must be absolutely awful, some of the problems that have been suffered. But we can't solve that problem. What we've got to make absolutely damn certain is that we do not make it worse. But we cannot go around solving, you know, the problems in the district. And I simply come back to the fact, and I've repeated it over and over again, this site has been allocated. Somebody's going to build something on this site. What the points that you made about... I have to say, if it's been allocated for housing, it would be extremely difficult in planning terms.
It Martin, you knew that when you were shown the land in 2011. You knew about the 8th plan, and I mentioned that to you and your colleagues in late 2011. So please get your facts right. You knew I haven't denied it.
But the points about whether or not the site should be allocated, you know, are issues that have been debated over the last 4 years. So, you know, I simply come back to say we are concerned that whatever happens on that site is done properly. We are there. I have come to these meetings to face you, and you know how to make contact with us. If you were dealing with an anonymous developer I guess they would not have turned up on 3 occasions to these types of meetings. You would not have seen them. And we are there, and you.
As possible. Nothing about doing it properly. It's money.
I think I've said enough. I apologise that I have to leave, but we have heard your concerns. We do understand your concerns, but I repeat that I think it's far better that we undertake this development than somebody else that you do not know.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll carry on. We are taking notes. James Atton from Valley's been taking lots of notes. If there are further questions, which we can then post on to Martin, you'll take those, Martin, won't you? If we give you questions, and we'll publish the answers on my website and in the press or wherever. Right, I want to take a lot of other points. Then I'll come back and make some responses as well. But I want to get everybody else in. I've got the gentleman here, then the lady over there, and then I'll go back over this side. Gentleman, yeah, in the suit there.
Oh, for
Martin,
God's
thank you
sake.
very much. Good night, Martin. It's working.
Just getting a squeal. We'll switch. I will get these working, I swear.
Right, we're going to carry on. Sir.
Hello, I'm Peter Miller. I'm both a resident. Working. I'm Peter Miller. I'm both a resident and an operator of aircraft at Shoreham Airport. I do feel that I have every sympathy with everything expressed here this evening, particularly as a local resident. But I'll stick to aviation.
Keep going.
I'll stick to aviation. I opposed the building of the Brighton and Hove Albion Football Academy. I opposed the local plan, but I'm one person. I wanted to ask Martin what aviation input had the developers had. I don't believe any. I would like to ask the planning committee what aviation input they had on the local plan, which hasn't yet been adopted. Because I believe there are real risks and hazards. Aerodrome safeguarding is a legal obligation. Each airport is responsible for safeguarding. This gives rise to a considerable number of risks which need to be analysed. Some may be able to be dismissed, some deemed acceptable, and some capable of mitigation. However, what we're dealing with is the safety of the public and aircraft, long-term viability of the airport if restrictions are imposed, and pressure of closure on the airport from occupants of new brakes. On this basis alone, I cannot understand how Martin and James Scott of Longlow can possibly say it's of benefit to the airport without a full analysis. Going on from that,
Quickly.
very quickly, Tim, just one question. Are you aware of the Resources and Growth Committee?
About there.
About there? No, it's stopped.
Now it's completed. I'll just shout.
I'll just shout. I get the name of this committee right. It's
Peter, I'll deal with that. Trust me.
Is Tim aware of this?
I will. Right. Okay. We'll bring that in. Right. On the airport issue, that's something in a minute I'll ask James Atton to comment on, because it's obviously what responsibility have they to take account of airport conversation? Yeah, okay. Right, lady right at the back. Have we got a microphone that's now working?
Yes, it works.
Oh, fantastic. Only in this hall does microphone equipment go kaput. Madam?
No, thank you. I had a few points to...
It's working! Don't touch it! Oh, no!
I can shout.
Just a little bit of guidance over the use of a microphone. If you point it at your mouth,